Anya Burgess, and I'm originally from Boston, but I've been living in South Louisiana for about 10 years. I went to violin making school about 10 years ago up in Indiana, at Indiana University in Bloomington, and studied with a professor, teacher there named Tom Sparks. It was a 2-year program, and at the end of the program, had a finished violin, which is the violin that my first violin, the violin that I play pretty much all the time. And that would be this instrument right here. After going to school, I did an apprenticeship with a violin maker in Nova Scotia, in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. His name is Otis Thomas. And I built another violin with him. And then after the apprenticeship, I moved here and ended up opening up my mostly repair shop to begin with. I do violin. My main business is violin maintenance and repair setup. I work with classical musicians, Cajun musicians, and everything in between. So I've had my repair business now for about, I guess, 7 or 8 years. And I have a shop in the back of my house, and that's what I do every day, all day, every day, is work with violins. I build them when I have time, but that's not my main livelihood. My main thing is repair, and I do bow rehairing and that kind of thing. So I think that pretty much covers my story briefly, and I'll pass it over to Matt.
Well, my name is Matt Doucet, born in Lafayette, Louisiana. Let's see. I was trying to think. It was in the summer of 2000. It was my second year going up for the springtime in Nova Scotia at the University of St. Anne to go study up there. And it was on break in between semesters up there. It was like a spring and a summer session. And I drove it the second year that I went, and that was the second year in 2000. And there was a guy up there named Jonathan Cooper that built fiddles for my dad. My dad's Michael Doucet, plays with Bosley. And so I called my dad and said, hey, I'd really like to go see, where the shop and see where the fiddle was made. And I think John had made a fiddle for me in '99, I believe. So I just wanted to go say, hey, and I had met him at the Mark O'Connor Fiddle Camp. I think that was in '98. So I'd met him a long time ago. So in between break, to make a long story short, I drove to, where was that? Not Westbrook, Maine, that was John's shop. I can't remember. Warren, Maine, yeah. She can remember where his shop was. Golly. So I'm a little bit fried right now. I had a dead battery right before I came, and so I was like totally went into panic mode because I was running late as it was, so just breathe. So so I went and hung out with John for that summer. And Jean de Glace, the director of the University of St. Anne, gave me a scholarship and Joel Sabois scholarship to stay on, but both of us declined it. I don't remember what Joel did. I think he had too many gigs with the family band or something, but I wanted to stay and build fiddles. And so I called him and said, look, I'm going to stay at Coops for the rest of the summer and build a fiddle, Needless to say, my parents were like totally petrified because they didn't think I was going to come back home and finish up my degree at school, but I did. I was 2 days late, but late registration and all that. So during that summer, I built this guy right here with Cooper, and it was a mind-opening experience, something that I'd never had seen anybody do before. I mean, the only kind of woodworking skills that I had before was building a doghouse, and that was it. So just to see 5 woodworking and walked out of the shop with something like that, it was like pretty cool. So, I mean, it was always on the back of my mind, and then I think it was in 2004, 2004, I officially started Doucet Violins, and I started an apprenticeship with John Cooper, so I moved up to Maine, and worked with Cooper for a year, and during the side, and at night I would just build my own fiddles, and So I built one in the course of the year with him while working on all the other stuff. And then after that, then I opened a shop with his foreman named Steve Canoyer. And we had a shop in Westbrook, Maine, at the Dana Ward Mill for 2 years. And Steve kind of carried out my apprenticeship for the following 2 years. So I had a total of 3-year apprenticeship. And it was kind of like a weird apprenticeship with Steve because I was actually working on my own stuff the whole entire time instead of working on, you know, the master's stuff. So it was pretty cool, and I had a really good time doing it. So I moved back home and just pretty much getting started again, you know, and just really enjoyed it. And it's, I mean, and Anya is also a player like myself, and you know, it's funny because a lot of makers aren't players, you know, and so it's fun when you're putting it together, like you can kind of always get what you always wanted to have, you know. So it just opens up your whole musical experience as a musician as well as a maker, because you have all that wealth of knowledge to draw on. And so yeah, so we're here today. We're going to talk some more about putting this stuff together. I'm going to pass it over to the apprentice of Anya, Mr. Chris Segura.
So yeah, I have not made a violin yet. I actually just started going to Anya's shop about, like, 3 weeks ago. So I'm still just working on some really basic stuff, just making tools and sharpening knives and all that good stuff. But I mean, I guess probably when I was 5 or 6 years old, my parents would take me to Lionel Lily's house, who's a really good maker. I lived down here, and he was also a fiddle player, so we would go there. We spent a lot of time in Romero's music in New Iberia. So, you know, I've always been around people making violins, and I've always been interested in them, so finished school last semester and figured it would be a good thing to learn how to do. So, we'll see what happens.
The funny thing about Lionel, I went there one time with my dad, and the dad was picking up a fiddle that he had repaired, and I just remember I was like a little kid, and he was driving forever, and he said, if you touch anything over there, I will kill you, you know? And so I remember going over there, and Lionel just taking like backs and tops and just scooting them all over so I could sit on the couch, and I was like, whoa.
There's a picture of his house over there on the wall, and you can see it's just got fiddle parts and trash and boxes scattered everywhere. And that's exactly how I remember it.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, yeah. That was the house, not the shop.
Yeah, it's good to pay homage to the violin makers, former violin makers in this area, and probably Lionel was one of the more well-known ones, and that's just a classic story. You know, I hear about people going to visit him, and there was no place to sit because everything was just piled up so high. He would just sit and talk to you for 3 hours. Somehow he also built violins, and there's a lot of them out there. But there were a few other makers in the area too. The Abner Ortega up in Washington. There's a couple makers in the built-out area, mostly self-taught, and so. But in terms of like full-time, I think full-time violin makers. We are it. So
even Camry and Wasek made their own fiddles too, you know, but Wasek said you can never pull a tune on it, so that Camry just stuck with it. But they made it out of a cigar box and like a piece of wood, and took a screen off the screen door, like a stick with cotton twine, and so that was his big thing. It was like, you know, anybody says they can't, there's no such thing as can't.
yeah, if you don't have money, you can build yourself a violin out of a cigar box. So. Cut a hole in the middle, attach a neck and some strings, and you're good to go. But we both were kind of trained in the classical, that what I was just describing would be like a folk violin, obviously, you know, self-taught and very handmade and very cool. But we were kind of trained in the more classical violin making tradition, which is an Italian tradition, mostly based in Cremona, Italy. Started in the 1500s,